everyone. Over the past 8 days, I have ascended over 2,500 meters to get to Everest Base Camp, which is at 5,364 meters. And I hope I can inspire many other people to come out here and visit the Khumbu region here in Nepal.
Hi there. Okay, so me and Armin are co-producers on this project, Searching for Goodness. We're very happy to have you. We touch on subjects such as climate change, global warming, and my eyes are on young activists like yourself. I was very impressed by Greta Thunberg when she did the How Dare You speech.
Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
I think that was a very powerful speech, even though there were mixed reviews about it. And I've been following her and Jane Fonda and you guys every Friday going and doing your activism, protesting against anything anti-environmentalist. So thank you so much for your time. You're a young, beautiful activist. Please introduce yourself. What do you do? Where are you? How did you get involved with this? What does this organization do? And what's your role?
So my name is Saanvi Mylavarapu. I am an outdoors youth advocate, and I'm also a hiker, backpacker, and rock climber. So I started getting involved with the outdoors and with the climate change at a very young age because I started hiking and being out in nature from a very young age. And ever since I was 6 years old, I've always been outdoors. Every weekend, I'm outdoors at a different hike, rock climbing, or backpacking. So I've always been very involved with the outdoors. And because I've been outside so much, I've always had such a passion for the outdoors and I've always wanted to protect it, which is how I got involved with Fridays for Future. And what Fridays for Future does is we participate in demonstrations to demand action from political leaders to prevent climate change, and also for the fossil fuel industry to transition into more of renewable energy. And so with them, I've obviously been working to demand action from political leaders and also advocate more for the usage of more renewable energies. And I'm also advocating for the encouragement of kids to spend time outdoors with a couple other organizations I work with, but I'm very involved with the outdoors and encouraging others to go outdoors and spend time with nature.
So what does this organization do? What are some of the things that you're protesting against?
We're protesting against drilling, fracking, and excessive use of fossil fuels, and to instead transfer into more usage of renewable energy. And the reason that we're protesting is we're trying to get action from political leaders, because they're the ones, although we're the ones who are trying to make change, in the end of the day, they're the ones who have to make those policies in order for that change to be enacted. So our goal is to get their attention, to make sure that they put in these policies that are going to cut fracking, cut the usage of so many of these fossil fuels, and help us meet the Sustainable Development Goals, and in the end, help us cut as much fossil fuel usage as we can in order to make the planet more healthy.
And what are some of the health ways, just to enlighten us and the general audience? What are things we're expecting these political leaders to do? What do we expect corporations to do? And what us as individuals, civilians, what can we do for the better of the world?
So I think things that we're expecting, some basic level things, are to start actually passing these policies. There's so many policies in Congress right now for climate change and to cut it down the usage of fossil fuels, but a lot of them are not being passed and they're not going past the House or Congress. And we're enacting them to actually pay attention to these bills and showing them that as youth, we are the next generation and we care about these policies, and we need you guys to represent us, and we need you guys to pass these bills in order for the greater good of the earth. And so one thing that I encourage people to do themselves at their house is to just go outside and spend time outdoors. And because I believe that if you spend more time outdoors, you'll build that organic connection with nature, which will make you want to innately be more sustainable. So you'll find yourself being more sustainable once you gain that connection with nature. And once you do that, then you'll find yourself advocating for, the usage of renewable energies and more sustainable goals for your own country.
So our documentary is called Searching for Goodness. And in this documentary, we are exploring where goodness is. In this case, what do you think Fridays for Future do for goodness? And what do you do within this organization? What do you do as a good deed yourself and in your personal life? What is goodness to you? I'm asking actually 4 questions in one. What is goodness to you? Let's define goodness. Then tell me, what does this organization do? What you do? And in addition, what you do as a person for goodness.
I believe that as mankind, we all want to be around goodness, and we're always in search of goodness in different places. And then we end up, judging people for their opinions, judging people for various sorts of things. But instead, I always want to ask the question, why do we have to search for goodness? Instead, let's find the goodness within ourselves. And I think that's what I kind of try to embody in my own life. I try to find that goodness within myself and carry that goodness with me wherever I go. And I try to spread that goodness. And so now, if we think about what is goodness, I think that goodness is about is about being true to yourself, and is about being true to the world. I don't think we have to invent or discover anything for the greater good. I think we can just begin by not spoil things that are around us, and not spoiling things and destroying things that are given to us. I think our acts can not cause any nuisance or harm to anyone. This includes society, to our community, to our friends, to our family, and for me, for nature. And I think I really want people to start thinking about goodness in that way as well. And I think human mind should be curious, but not greedy. Humans should want to explore, but not exploit. Humans should want to learn, but not repeat the same mistake in pretext of temporary gains. And humans should want to advocate, but not abandon. So that's personally what goodness means to me, which is why I wanted to be part of Fridays for Future as well, because I believe means goodness means the same thing to them. And in Fridays for Future, what we do is we try to band together and we do these protests in order to spread that goodness and spread that message around the world. And since we've each and every single person who participates in Fridays for Future and who comes to those rallies, who comes to those protests, each and every single one of those people has found that goodness in themselves. And now that they've found that in themselves, they want to spread that around the world by being their true selves.
Your thoughts on science and spirituality, how do they connect and differ?
So I believe that science is something that we have proof for, something that we know for a fact is true. And I believe what we don't know, we try to fill in with spirituality. So right now, what we know in the world, although we might think we know a lot, the amount of information we know about the world is very, very, very minuscule compared to the things we don't know. So I think that the things we don't know, we try to find solace in by being spiritual. And that's how I think science and spirituality are different. But I also believe that they're connected, because I think that, for example, take the earth. I have a spiritual connection with the earth. I view the elements as not only the elements of the earth, but I view them as spiritual beings. And that's why, for me personally, I always have a desire to learn more about the earth and to learn more knowledge about the earth and have the earth teach me knowledge. And I feel like I really learned science that way, by having the spiritual connection from the earth. So I believe that they're connected that way.
In today's rapidly changing world, the intersection between youth communities and environmental issues has taken a center stage. As we dive deeper, we uncover urgent environmental challenges that are significantly impacting our youth and their future. Plastic pollution chokes our oceans. Deforestation threatens vital ecosystems, and melting glaciers signal a looming climate crisis.
The environment is our shared home. And as youth, We are inheriting a planet that's facing unprecedented challenges. We can't ignore the reality. These issues directly affect our well-being, and the world will pass on to future generations.
I'm sure you heard about it, strikes.
Yeah.
It's a different form of protest against artificial intelligence taking jobs of writers and actors and everything. May I ask your opinions of that?
Yeah, so I think humans have a habit of not keeping the balance. And we often try to find a balance, but we often can't keep it. And I think we see this example with so many different aspects of our life. For example, plastics. Plastics were invented in, I believe, about 1907. And, plastics are a great invention. They help humans in so many different kinds of ways. But slowly we lost that balance of using plastics where it was healthy for the earth, and we can maintain that balance where we could use plastics and the earth would remain healthy and we wouldn't have these giant garbage patches and these giant landfills, to now where we lost that balance and we have these giant garbage patches and landfills, and plastics are getting into animals' bodies and humans' bodies, and there's microplastics in fish, there's microplastics on tops of mountains, there's even microplastics on top of Mount Everest now. So we've slowly lost that balance. And I think it's a similar thing to AI, where it's an amazing invention. I think that AI can help humanity in so many different ways, especially in the outdoors where I'm very much involved. I think AI could be very useful in tracking animal patterns and tracking how ecosystems move and how they will move in the future. I think AI could be very helpful. But I think that if we don't find that balance again, we'll find ourselves in the similar situation that we're in right now with plastics, where it's going to be way more damaging to us in the future than helpful.
So, with our documentary film, my initial goal is to make this a world documentary travel around the world. And I'm going to go by continent. And the first piece is going to be Antarctica. One reason I want to go to Antarctica is because there's sciencemen from all over the world in one place, and everyone's doing something for goodness. Everyone's there for the goodness of the world. So what are your thoughts on Antarctica? Whatever you've heard, whatever opinion you got on it.
So I think Antarctica, obviously, it's extremely biodiverse. There's so much in Antarctica that we don't know about, and so much that holds a lot of clues for science and for nature that we need to discover. And at the same time, I think there's a lot of, because of issues such as climate change and global warming, there's also a lot of destruction in Antarctica. And so that's something that I personally am worried about. But at the same time, I'm very happy that there is a lot of scientific exploration and discoveries that are happening in Antarctica right now. I think every day I look at my news, and probably like every week I see something new that they discovered in the Antarctic and in Antarctica. And it's very fascinating to me personally. In the debate of if Antarctica should belong to a specific country or not, I believe that Antarctica shouldn't. And I think that it should just be an area that's regulated by all countries so it can stay safe and it can stay protected. But I don't think it should belong to one specific country. I think it should be a space where people go for scientific discovery and nothing more than that.
Do they mention it in the future for Fridays?
Yeah, obviously, there's a lot of negative effects in Antarctica because of global warming and climate change. We've obviously seen glaciers that are rapidly decreasing all over the world because of global warming and climate change.
Climate change isn't just about rising temperatures. It impacts our food sources, water availability, and can even lead to increased conflicts. Dwindling water resources due to changing weather patterns impact agriculture and access to clean drinking water. Our generation is inheriting a planet where climate change is the greatest threat facing the world's children and young people. Children are less able to survive extreme weather events and are more susceptible to toxic chemicals, temperature changes, and diseases.
We are mobilizing to demand action. As our futures hang in the balance, youth will face the brunt of the climate crisis, and yet we're also some of the most underrepresented. And we've also seen animals, polar bears and penguins and all these animals that depend on these ice caps to survive. Those are slowly melting, and this ends up affecting the entire ecosystem. It doesn't only affect one animal, because when one animal is affected by an ecosystem, it ends up affecting all the other animals as well. For example, one animal dies off in an ecosystem, that animal is another animal's prey. That animal is another animal's predator. So it ends up causing a chain reaction, which can end up derailing an entire ecosystem, which is something we definitely don't want to see. I think what we can do about it is we can urge our governments to figure out different solutions, because there are already so many solutions of renewable energy. The problem is not finding different areas of renewable energy, because there are different areas of renewable energy that we can look into and our governments can look into. I think the issue right now is implementing those types of renewable energies. And with that too, there's a lot of tension with that too, because some people think that it's cheaper to use fossil fuels and it's more expensive to use renewable energy. However, I do believe that fossil fuels, they're finite. It's gonna end up running out someday. So I think we need to start now, at least figuring out ways where we can actually implement renewable energies, maybe even take a model city, maybe do a model city and figure out, do a scientific study. If we use renewable energy in that city, what will happen? Just doing small things like that, just looking into it and trying to actually implement lots of renewable energy into one specific place, I think would be a first step into figuring out. Because I don't expect all of a sudden for the world to change from fossil fuels to renewable energy. No, it's going to take not thousands, but hundreds of years for that to happen. We're heavily dependent on fossil fuels. I don't think it would be right to just go all of a sudden from fossil fuels to renewable energy, but I think we need to start somewhere, and we have to start now.
I'm not very familiar with this renewable energy, and maybe some of the audience is also not. Like, can you tell us a little bit what this means, renewable energy? Like, what's the process of it? Some examples that you know of?
Some examples for renewable energy would be solar energy. So instead of getting energy from fossil fuels, you're getting energy from the sun. So a way that solar energy is actually really accessible to everyone now. So you can put in solar panels, and that would attract the solar energy, which you could use to power your house. Another example would be wind energy. You can use wind turbines for that. They're often if you're ever driving, I would say in America, at least through the Midwest, you see a lot of wind turbines and a lot of big farms where there's just tons of wind energy. Another one would be using geothermal energy, which comes from the ground up. And I think there's so many different types of renewable energy that, nowadays they're even finding out different ways to turn different like plastics and different animal products and plant products into energy as well for humans to use. So there's honestly a infinite amount of sources of renewable energy, I feel like, that we can look into and we can tap into. It's just the process of actually beginning to do that.
What are your thoughts on birds? It could be spiritual tools to the personal tools. Like a friend of mine, I asked today, an actress friend of mine, she told me about how a feather of a bird is like considered like a symbol from an angel, whereas somebody else talked how birds is like doing their own music in nature. So it could be anything that means to.
I see it as a metaphor as well. So I see it as a symbol of freedom, hope, spirit, new opportunity. And it just really, birds give a positive theme and a positive energy for me. I always remember when I was watching movies when I was younger, and every time I'd be watching like a dystopian movie, and after all the bad stuff happened and the new society emerges, there'd always be birds chirping in the background of that new society, of that happy society. So birds have always resonated like that to me. And so birds are always, for me, a beacon of hope, especially when we're talking about ecosystems and various environments in the earth. Birds often actually can indicate the environment ecosystem condition, because they're extremely responsive to environmental change. So you can often tell how healthy an ecosystem is or not based on the birds that are there. And so they have also really, really important ecological functions that go into creating a new ecosystem, such as seed dispersal, insect consumption, and they're extremely easy to observe. And there's so many different types of birds. So, one of my favorite things to do is to go to our local state park and do bird watching. And there's so many different types of birds. There's so many different calls that they have. They're really fascinating for me. So I've really enjoyed just observing them. And not only do they serve as a really important environmental function, but they serve as a beacon of hope and a happy. Every time I hear the chirping of birds, it just feels so peaceful. I feel in solace, and they serve as that in my life.
And Indian culture, is there anything birds signify? Because I know India has a lot of beautiful mythological stories and everything.
Actually, peacocks is in Indian mythology, it's a mythical bird and a carrier of Lord Vishnu, because technically the peacock is not, but it's kind of complicated because there's a bird called Garuda in Indian mythology, and it was created by the feathers. Sorry, wait, I'm saying this wrong. A peacock was created by the feathers of Garuda, which is a mythical bird in Indian mythology, which is how the peacock was like formed or created. Peacock in Indian mythology too is like it's really, really important. So that's one of the reasons that I'll always remember a peacock. Actually, one of our gods, Lord Krishna, he actually has a peacock feather in his head. So when I was younger, we would always be doing these like dances, and each of us would be representing a god in one of the dances. And I was Lord Krishna, child Lord Krishna, and my friend was I think Radha, which is Lord Krishna's like lover and wife. So I would be Lord Krishna, and I would have the peacock feather in my head. So peacocks, they represent the cycle of time. They represent immortality, resurrection in Hindu mythology, and they're really important to us as well. So
how does music play in with spirituality, frequency, science, environment? How does music play a role?
Music is extremely important. I think music is somewhere you go to express something that you cannot express while you're just talking plainly. And personally, for me, music has played a really big part of my life. I sing Carnatic music, which is a form of Indian classical music. And we sing in so many different ways, and we describe so many different things while we're singing. Every single thing that we sing has a meaning for it. And when we're singing, we're not only just singing because it sounds good or because we like it, but we're singing it because of its meaning and what we want to get out into the world. And I think that the power of music is so, so important, especially nowadays. And I think music is something that connects all people, no matter what their opinions are, no matter from where they come in the world. Even if you don't understand that language, music is something that connects you to that. I also do Indian classical dance, and the type of dance I do is called Kuchipudi, and it's originated from Andhra Pradesh in India. And so that is also very derived in the type of music that we dance to. It's very, very specific. And because of the music, we create different types of mudras, like we call it, which are hand postures. And because of that, the music kind of guides how we dance. And that's how music has played a big part of my life.
Very nice. I love it. And arts, what do you think? How do arts can help with all of this spiritually or environmental issues? How can arts play a good role in this?
Art is a great way to build that connection, because even if you don't understand the language, it's a way that we can connect with people all over the world. Especially being someone who does Indian music and Indian dance in the United States, in Dallas now, and I used to do it in Chicago. It was surprising to me how many people who weren't Indian were still able to connect with the type of dance that I did and the type of music that I sang, because this type of music and dance isn't conventional to America. And so it was because I realized that, and seeing that how many people did connect to the type of music and dance, I realized that this could be a way where we could tell stories and connect with the rest of the world.
What's your future goals and dreams shortly? And also, what do you think would be an ideal world? What they say utopia is not doesn't exist, but let's say we manage to make a utopic world where everything is ideal. What would that world would look like? And on a personal level, you can let us know what your personal goals in life is, and that's it.
So I think an ideal world would be a world where we all had some sort of connection to the outdoors. And I don't mean that you have to be going and visiting 25 national parks, you have to go and hike every weekend. I definitely do not think that. I think just going outside for a walk every day, breathing in fresh air outside, feeling the sunlight, and really appreciating it and realizing the value of the elements on the earth. I think if every single person on the earth was able to achieve that, then we'd be able to be in a world where we're benefiting the earth and the earth is benefiting us. And I think that would be my most ideal world.
Saanvi, what is your message for people who want to spend more time outdoors?
So the Earth has been around for 4.5 billion years and has gone through many changes and will continue to go through several more changes in the coming billions of years. And so in our lifespan of 70 to 80 years, let's try to explore, learn, seek, and experience the Earth and the grandeur of the Earth as much as possible.
We are currently at Kalapatar, which is at an elevation of 5,550 meters. Behind me, you can see Mount Everest, the tallest point on our planet. And right next to it, you can see Nuptse. Behind it, Lhotse. Over there, you can see Mount Lola, Kumuche, Linton, Kumari. And over on this side, you can see Umbadalam, Kongdiga, Kamsarku, Taboche, Cholasi, and Loboche.
So I think I would just encourage people to obviously spread the goodness around the world and find that goodness within themselves. And once they do that, then they will organically spread that goodness around the world without them even thinking. And I think with that, we're going to have a much better future for the next few generations.